So, a lot of neurodivergent, disabled, or autistic kids don't always do the best in long school days, or they need a break in the middle. Other kids might want to stay longer at school because of family situations or all sorts of different things. There's also maybe that there's certain subjects they should not attend. Um, I was recently found out, it's very interesting, that all these autistic people were complaining about, like me, how I failed PE multiple times because we have sensory issues, so it's really hard to do in this crowded environment where all this stuff is going on. Some of us have a huge lack of motivation when it comes to certain activities, which is really hard to overcome, or we just don't feel the natural high of exercising. Other ones of us, like, and I have have auditory processing difficulties, which makes it really hard to actually hear the instructions that are going on, which makes us look misbehaved. Other one of us have really bad motor coordination difficulties. I have seriously injured myself being forced to jump rope multiple times. I would somehow got the rope ramped around my neck and pulled myself to face palm at the floor. A bunch of other things, social interactions, all these other things, and they don't think you're goofing off. There's also these loud auditorium events that really are bad and hurtful, and you might not see them. But then there's this stuff like that's just not very useful for you or not enjoyable in different IEPs and stuff. Some people have really difficulties in certain other classes, such as dyscalculia with math or dyslexia with reading and writing, and so on and so on. So maybe, and then other people might be in the future taking online classes instead of taking a class in school or receiving outside instruction. Maybe a combination of homeschool we could get online classes, because it might benefit the student because either they're above or way below, above grade level, below grade level, whatever that actually means, or maybe they're doing an alternative course. This is more interesting to them, or maybe they need flexible timing, or so on and so on. So at school they should not be there the full day in some ways. So how is a way around that? Well, sometimes they could be early dismissal, or they could be dismissed and come back to the school. The problem with that whole idea is it doesn't work if a family is poor, doesn't have, not even if the poor, they just don't have access to a second car or something. And also the transition from going in and out of school can be a big deal. Well, if it's only an hour chunk of time they're missing, and then you have to, in the middle of the day, then if the house is 20-minute drive away, 40 minutes they're spending driving, there's only 20 minutes at the house. So I think what schools should do is they should often have a room or some places where kids can just sit down and they don't have to do work, or they can just relax. And these could even be options for kids that are normally taking the English class or something, but want to just not be there for a couple of particular units because with that teacher's permission that is stressed or doesn't click or something. A relaxed space, and there could be several relaxed spaces. Some of them could be dark and quiet for people to really just sit there. Some of them could be more physically active. Some of them could even be arcades. Depends on how big the school is and how many resources they have. Another thing they could do in these spaces is maybe even offer tutoring or clubs throughout the day. Just little things. And then with this, if a school really had a lot of resources, which I think we should really increase resources, we could offer classes at more variable times even, and that kids could take more breaks. So if a kid is not good at having 4 classes straight in a row, they could take a break in the middle of the day and have just 2 classes in a row. This would be a nice feature. And instead, in this middle time, they could do a bunch of other things. There was one school that for impoverished kids brought in a lot more attendance by having kids be able to do the laundry and other things at the school. So in the school, they wouldn't leave. There's more motivation for them to school with greatly increased rates. but having the opportunity for kids to do other things like laundry or something like that might keep them more at school without feeling bad. And it could also be, you could come up with a wide range which will depend on the neighborhood. Schools could even become whole centers in the future, like malls or something like that, if we really want to get drastic, where they would interact with shopping and a variety of things. I would see the con with that is they have to interact more with the outside world, so then there's a safety, and then you get into overwhelming kids with strangers, stuff like that. So I'm not so certain about that. Well, but maybe you could have doctors, or maybe you could have like sex ed or something like that, or maybe art activities. I don't know. Well, thank you very much for listening. I hope you found this interesting. Please like and subscribe. It really helps the channel out. I'm trying to reach 1,000 subscribers in a year and 4,000 watch hours, which is really hard. But with your help, I think I can do it. Also, if any ideas for future videos, comments, or suggestions, please leave them in the comment section below. Thank you very much again. Goodbye.